Hello, happy Monday. Welcome to Snap Take. There's no patch yet, as expected. So, today's Snap Take is going to look at Snap.fan's tournament this weekend. Snap.fan held a huge open tournament this weekend, and it's worth noting that Snap Judgments Podcast, our very own favorite Marvel Snap podcast, is the official affiliate podcast of Snap.fan. So, we're really excited that they had such a huge, successful tournament run by Default Dan, Stellar Person, and the omnipresent Kawa. This tournament was won by a Thanos deck, like everything has been lately, but the Thanos deck is different. So it's won by Rim Hong, also known as Streamer Johnson, and you can check the description for the review of that. For all of Rim's information. Now, this deck is cool as heck. I hope it survives the nerfs because it's very different and very powerful. And unlike the Leech versions of the deck, it plays fair. First, this deck will fold to Leech a certain percentage of the time. Given Lockjaw, and if it doesn't draw Death and She-Hulk early, it does a decent job of surviving that matchup. Let's take a look at what this deck does, what this deck does well, and why it is such a strong force in the meta now that it's publicly available. It has been created, it has been seen by a bunch of people who watched that video. Now, in some very standard Thanos Lockjaw cards are in this. We've got Quinjet to make the stone 0, Lockjaw to cheat out big things, especially with 0-cost stones. We've got She-Hulk for a potentially low mana, high power card. We've got, not that. We've got Thanos because it's not a Thanos deck without him. He puts in all the stones. We've got Magneto for a really powerful top end card that can help mess up your opponent's plans. And we've got the lovely control combo of Shang-Chi to kill whatever big thing they play, and Arrow to control where they can play at the end of the game. These are in both versions of the Thanos deck. These are the cards that form the basis of it. That's where this deck gets weird, though. It's not trying to play the same plan as the other deck. It can, right? Like with Sans Leech, it can just go into Lockjaw, I drop big things. That's a perfectly valid playstyle. However, it's also got a Killmonger Deathwave package. Killmonger, along with Shang-Chi as the kill in the deck. Killmonger can kill all your stones. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, first, a lot of your opponents are running Thanos, a lot of your opponents are running Sunspot. Getting rid of these cards is a huge tempo loss that they're not expecting, but you are. You could also potentially, if the stones cost 0, drop a 0-cost stone or 2 after the Killmonger, even in the same turn, in order to amp up what you have, and they don't. Huge board swings with Killmonger. Now, this is in the interest of a cheap death. In combination with Wave, death becomes extremely cheap. If 2 things have died, you're killing 2 stones, or Shang-Chi kills something, or if they've killed anything, 2 stones make death a 2-cost card on that wave turn. 2 cost plus 4 cost means that you can play potentially Death and Magneto, Death and Thanos on that last turn together. Now, the same basic thing works as She-Hulk. There's 2 extra energy. You take off 2 from that 4, She-Hulk costs 2 energy. 2 and 4, that gives you another big power last play. These are especially good plays with Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom being able to spread 15 power across the board while you're dropping another 12 or 10 elsewhere is extremely hard to beat. And this is extremely good with Arrow, controlling where your opponent plays. These combinations with Wave are nasty, but Death, because you have 6 stones, because your opponent's playing ones, because you also have Quinjet, so on, can often just be 0 even without that wave, creating extremely explosive last turns. That's awesome. That's an extremely powerful thing to do. It makes this deck really strong, but it also leaves it with a weakness to Leech because Leech resets Death and She-Hulk's cost. In order to offset that a little bit, A, we have Doom to go wide, but B, this deck's other big innovation, and I think this might find its way above Magneto and some other versions of the deck, it runs Odin. Now, Odin does a lot here. First, foremost, easily And this doesn't happen often, but Odin can trigger a Space Stone in order to get something out of a lockjaw lane. It can trigger a Reality Stone in order to get rid of a location. It can give you bonus energy if it gets cheated out via lockjaw very often. Give you the last couple of your cards. And with Soulstone, draw a card. All of these draws, all of these things Odin does are powerful in and of themselves. But the real power of Odin comes when you're copying things like Wave in order to cheat out multiple 6 costs every turn, or cheat out Doom so that then you can, after Wave, cheat out Doom so then you can Odin Doom and put another series of robots. Drop an arrow on 5, playing perfectly fair, and then an Odin on top of that arrow, saying that their last 2 turns only go in one lane. If you've stolen priority early, that'll often just win a game. It's really good if you can manage to lockjaw into a Doom earlier. And my personal favorite right now is when I lockjawed with Space Stone to lockjaw, I kept popping up Shang, and Shang was kind of useless because it's early in the game, and that's not really what you want. So what I would do is I would then move Shang into the lane where they didn't have like a Cosmo where they were going to play a big thing. At that point on the last turn, Odin re-triggers Shang, surprisingly wrecking their board. That's a lot of cool different combinations this deck has. That's a lot of really powerful things it can do. That's Thanos Wave. Hopefully, I'll be back later or tomorrow to talk about the patch. As soon as the patch drops, I'm going to try and release a video just going over what we see. A lot of new information was revealed last week, but everyone under the sun already reviewed them. So we're going to talk about that on the Snap Judgments podcast more fully. This way, I'm not just repeating things everyone else has said alone. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back to talk to you soon. Like and sub. Make sure you're checking out Snap.fan.